going on, everybody? I go by the name of Kari, and I want to thank you guys for joining me here today on Sneaker Phetish. Today, we're taking a look at a highly anticipated sneaker that recently came out to extremely limited numbers. I was one of the lucky ones that happened to be at the right place at the right time to be able to spend a lot of money on these shoes. And so not only are we going to take a look at this pretty iconic collaboration for a couple of reasons, we're also going to talk about whether or not these sneakers were worth the money. Without further ado, let's get into it. Boom. And there it is, ladies and gentlemen. This is the BAPESTA or the BAPESTA collaboration between a bathing ape and JJJJOUND. All right, before we get into the sneaker itself, we got to go back to the special edition packaging here. This packaging actually tells a very interesting story between these two brands. This mashup, this collaboration was very interesting because you have a wildly ostentatious brand like Bathing Ape with a hugely minimalistic brand like JJJJOUND coming together, which is really interesting. So you have one of these slide type boxes here with the Bathing Ape print all over it, the camo print with the ape in it. You have a Bathing Ape in gold foil on the top of the box here, co-branded with the JJJJOUND insignia on the side of the box here. Now, normally we've seen other JJJJOUND sneakers and other JJJJOUND collaborations, and normally we would just see a very minimalist box here, one color monochromatic box here with JJJJOUND on the side. The brand, like I mentioned, is very minimalistic, but this time you have the gold Bathing Ape on the side here. You have the print, the camo all over the box here. It's a slide out box. It's a lot going on. All right, now inside of the box, you're going to get two things. First of all, you're going to get the Bathing Ape dust bag here, kind of this canvas dust bag here with the drawstrings, really dope. And you also get a little bit of a card here. It's basically like a care and instructions card. What's funny is on the back of the card, it says to please try this shoe on both feet before purchasing for fit, but who can really do that when you're buying them online? All right, now let's get back to the sneaker here. Now, as I mentioned, BAPE has actually been making some really wild looking colorways in their shoe, but it's interesting that they went really back to the old school with this one to a really dumbed down, stripped down look on this shoe. But it makes a lot of sense when we dig into it a little bit more. Let's dive in. All right, taking a look at the upper of this shoe here. Now, of course, this is giving us Air Force One vibes. The classic BAPESTA or BAPESTA naturally is giving us Air Force One vibes, and we're getting the same thing in terms of silhouette with this sneaker. But I will say the first thing that we need to talk about is the leather on the upper. What you guys are looking at on the upper of this sneaker is 100% calf skin leather. I'm not talking regular leather. This is not the kind of leather that you're going to get on an Air Force One or many other sneakers that may even use real leather. Calf skin leather is a different kind of leather, a much more premium and expensive kind of leather as well. For those of you guys who don't know, calf skin leather is actually much more expensive because naturally a calf or a baby cow doesn't have nearly as much leather on its hide as a fully grown bovine or a fully grown cow. What that means is it's a little bit more expensive to produce. Now, I mentioned at the beginning of the video that this sneaker was expensive, and it was quite expensive to the tune of over $330 expensive. And so a lot of people felt like, why in the world would I spend that much money for a fake Air Force One looking shoe that BAPE made popular because of Nego? But I'm gonna tell y'all a big reason for that. Number one is a collaboration. Number two is because of the quality of this calfskin leather. This stuff is soft. Now, that leather also continues on the classic star and bolt design that you see on all Bathing Ape sneakers, all BAPESTAs, going back to the heel of the shoe as well. Moving down to the midsole of the shoe, you see the classic BAPE with the double lines where Nike normally, of course, would put Air or whatever they put on the Air Force One, but hey, it is what it is. These are the BAPEs. We know what we're getting with these. Can I just point out how hilarious it is that everybody gives BAPE a pass for making a sneaker that looks exactly like an Air Force One, but then everybody gets on designers like John Geiger for making a sneaker that kind of looks like an Air Force One when literally BAPE is doing the same thing. But maybe it's just because they're more famous. But I digress. Taking a top down look at the shoe here, you can also see, again, more of that really nice calfskin leather. You have these really interesting thick rope laces here. You don't have kind of regular laces that you would see in regular sneakers, but you have kind of these thicker laces as well. Moving up to the tongue here, you have the classic BAPESTA tag on the tongue, white tag with the gray stitching in it as well. Now, the tongue leather itself, that's the cheap stuff. That's the regular tongue leather that you're gonna get on like a pair of Air Force Ones. That's the cheap leather here. But the premium leather, again, on the upper, on the lateral and medial side of the shoe. One thing I also thought was really dope were the metal rivets at the top eyelet of the sneaker here. Gives it a really interesting touch. Again, minimalist touch, but I like the touch a lot. It's really fly. Speaking of the laces, you will also get a pair of these off-white kind of eggshell colored laces extra as well in this Bathing Ape bag. It's interesting because they didn't even put the JJJJOUND logo on the bag itself, but it is what it is. Metal lace tips on these laces, just like on the regular white laces as well. So y'all can swap them out if you want a little bit more vintage, a little bit more age look. You can go with these off-white laces. If you want a little bit cleaner look, you can go with the white laces already in the shoe. Moving around to the back of the shoe, there are two places that you're going to even see the word JJJJOUND on this sneaker, and one of them is right here on the back heel tab of the shoe. Gray heel tab with the white JJJJOUND in there as well. Again, very minimal. You guys notice on a lot of JJJJOUND's collaborations, JJJJOUND likes to put the name right on the back of the shoe here. On the outsole of the shoe here, that classic Bathing Ape BAPESTA outsole here. Again, a little bit different than the Air Force One. Naturally, you would have to do that for obvious legal reasons. But this time you get kind of this star here. You get the R register in the back on both of the shoes. You guys know what BAPESTAs look like. It is what it is. And on the insole here, you get a white insole with that gray, very simple, very minimal JJJJOUND branding on the heel. And that's pretty much it when it comes to the JJJJOUND and Bathing Ape BAPESTA collaboration. I know I maybe made it sound like it was a lot, but honestly, this is a super simplistic sneaker. It's a white BAPESTA with really nice leather on the upper. It's got some white mesh on the inside of it, and that's pretty much it. I mean, it's a white and gray sneaker. It is what it is. Now, a little bit of history about JJJJOUND, because a lot of people don't even know what in the world JJJJOUND is. They just know it is that name that goes on really limited New Balances that sell for a whole lot of money. But here's the deal about JJJJOUND. It was founded back in around 2006, I believe, by Joseph R. Saunders. If you guys don't know who that name is or who that guy is, he's based out of Canada, Montreal, I believe, and he was actually one of the founding members of Ben Trill. If you guys remember the Ben Trill line, that was the line that preceded Off-White, that was headed up by such pioneers in fashion as Joseph Saunders himself, Heron Preston, and of course, Virgil Abloh. May Virgil rest in peace. If you remember back in the Karma Loop days, Ben Trill was a fashion phenomenon. A lot of people love wearing the Ben Trill stuff, and that came from the minds of the people like Joseph. Now, Joseph went on to create his own blog back in the early 2000s that really was just more of a diary for him online. It was just more of his thoughts every day, and he would kind of write in it, use it as a blog. But a little bit later, he actually ended up taking all of the text and all the captions down and made it what he called a digital mood board. And really, it was just a clean aesthetic that served as design inspiration for himself and a lot of other creatives that were in the industry. Now, that website ended up blowing up, and JJJJOUND actually started becoming a brand. That branched out into doing more collaborative efforts and actually starting to work on physical products with brands. Now today, Joseph and the JJJJOUND brand still prides itself on being a brand that's all about less is more. And what I mean by that is he doesn't try to become a big star or to become a big person out here in the industry. He'd rather do things quietly and slowly and let them cook and bubble in the pot for a little while. As a matter of fact, he was quoted one time as saying that he really doesn't even like putting out product that hasn't spent at least a year or more in an incubator getting design iterations and revamps. And what he comes out with is a really clean, high quality, minimalist approach that really have been taking the world by storm. It's been kind of a perfect storm brewing, if you want my opinion, because nowadays mood board, or what people call mood board influencers or mood board sneakers, really seem to be kind of all the rage on Instagram these days. How many sneakers have you seen these days that are against a clean white background of somebody's leg cocked to the side looking like it's broken like this against a white background of a shoe that looks just like that? That's what people call mood board sneakers. And these, in their really toned down, clean white and gray aesthetic, these are the perfect mood board sneakers. These sneakers are going to be worn by a lot of people probably in New York with a weird pair of khakis or a weird pair of pants with that weird leg stance that they like to do, flexing a pair of $350 Bapes. Mood board is hot right now, and JJJJOUND is capitalizing on that. Not only that, but JJJJOUND has also done some incredible collaborations with a lot of other brands. The Vans collaboration that JJJJOUND did took the world by storm. New Balance collaborations with JJJJOUND are going to cost you an arm, a leg, a two-piece, and a thigh on StockX right now. And JJJJOUND has even collaborated on items from shoes to bicycles and so many other things in between, just because the brand is that strong. It's always interesting to see brands, especially that came out of the Ben Trill era, be able to kind of transcend fashion and go into real utility and housewares and things like that. It really does remind me of Off-White being able to just put their name on pretty much anything from rugs to shirts, and it sells out. So that's the backstory on JJJJOUND and how we got to these today. Now, the question of the day is, are these worth $300, $330, $350 or the $500 or whatever they're going for on the resale markets? If you want my honest opinion, the answer is no. I don't really think that these are worth as much money as they ended up costing. Now, there was a little bit of a debate as far as the pricing. People thought they were going to be like $250 or something, but because they were over in Japan and I guess currency exchange and all these other things, there was some misinformation out there. These actually did end up being well over the $300 price point. So these cost a pretty penny, but again, the moment that these dropped, they still flew even at that price point. Maybe because they're super limited. I don't know if JJJJOUND could ever come out with a general release sneaker, especially at the higher price points that some of the products for JJJJOUND tend to be at, and they sell out. But I will say, based on the demand on the products that JJJJOUND puts out, it might happen. But is some of that demand just based on hype because the JJJJOUND products, especially the sneakers, are just really hard to get your hands on? These days, we know that hype drives everything. And JJJJOUND maybe doesn't realize it, or maybe he does realize it, but when you release things in extremely limited quantities, like the 20 or so pairs that released on the website only, you drive hype through the roof, even if it's not all that great of a product. Not to say that JJJJOUND doesn't put out good quality product, but now you have a product that's good quality and super limited, which is going to drive the demand up even more. I'm interested to see what happens with the JJJJOUND brand. If he continues to kind of operate and do little collaborations here, little collaborations there in very limited numbers to keep the demand high on the brand, possibly, or if he would try to scale the operations and try to release more product in much larger quantities. Not gonna lie, I do think that it would water down the brand a little bit to do it that way, but based on the ethos of his brand being something that takes a year or more for a product to ever come out, I don't think that we'll be seeing general releases from JJJJOUND anytime soon. But final thoughts on the JJJJOUND and BAPE collaboration. It's a good shoe. I'm not mad at it. It was pricey though. This was one of those ones where you really didn't have time to think about the purchase. And I did want you guys to see them up close and personal in hand. And I wanted to get you guys' opinions on the shoe as well. So now it's time to do that. Now it's time for you guys to sound off down in the comments. Let me know what you guys think about the JJJJOUND and Bathing Ape BAPEsta collaboration. Are these ones that you guys tried to get your hands on? Are you guys gonna pay the resale price to get your hands on these? And what do you guys think about just how minimal these sneakers are? I mean, hey, all white Air Force Ones are still some of the top sellers out here. So why not a white and gray Air Force One lookalike being another sneaker that a lot of people want to get their hands on, even though it is triple the price? Sound off down below. Let me know if these were a pass or a pickup. Of course, right down in the comments, make sure that you click on that subscribe button so we can welcome you into the Sneaker Fetish family to make sure you don't miss out on any more heat that comes through like these, because I guarantee you, I got a lot more heat on the way. As always, I want to thank you guys for joining me here today on Sneaker Fetish, taking a look at these with me, unboxing them with me for a couple of minutes. I go by the name of Kari. This is the Bathing Ape BAPEsta in collaboration with JJJJOUND. And until next time, I'm out.